This is QTV Night News, and I am Janneh Commission. Thanks for joining us. And you can also join us on Q Radio 103.3 FM here at the main news headlines. President Barrow today opened government's second quarter cabinet retreat for 2025 at the State House in Banjul. On Wednesday, the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, DOI, held a press conference to address the rejection of the 2024 draft constitution. French National Day, also known as Bastille Day, was commemorated in the Gambia on Sunday, highlighting the enduring friendship and cooperation between France and the Gambia. Alhaji Muhammadu Kurang, the former secretary of the Janneh Commission, today appeared before the Special Select Committee on the sale and disposal of ex-President Jammeh's assets to provide explanations as to how the assets were sold or disposed of. And in international news, in Nigeria, a chapter of political history closed this week with the death and burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari, who was laid to rest in his hometown of Daura. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail Tuesday. Thank you for staying with us. This is QTV News, and I am Janneh Commission. Now, President Adama Barrow today opened the government's second quarter cabinet retreat for 2025 at the State House in Banjul, urging his ministers to stay focused on delivery and renew their commitment to the Gambian people. Ali Sisa was there, and this is his report.
Speaking at the opening of the retreat, President Barrow reaffirmed his administration's theme for the year 2025, year of results. He reminded ministers and top government officials of the promises made during the January retreat and stressed that the people of the Gambia expect nothing less than action and impact.
We committed ourselves to the people of this country and to each and other that delivery would be at the center of our work and that every cabinet decision would lead to significant impact on the ground. Today we are here to reaffirm that commitment, conscious that although we have made much progress nationally, we still have a long road ahead. We must hold ministers accountable for all the deliverables pertaining to their various institutions.
The president noted significant progress in the energy sector, saying the country is on track to achieving universal access to electricity by the end of the year. As someone who had and continues to prioritize infrastructure development on his agenda, President Barrow also pointed to achievements in road infrastructure, with more communities now connected by upgraded roads.
These are real signposts of progress, but we must emphasize that there is a lot more to do. Our citizens are aware of the impressive pace of development in the country, but their expectations clearly overweigh our accomplishments. They want more results at a quicker pace and in every corner of the land and without compromise. They expect us to deliver.
The Gambian leader urged cabinet ministers to use the retreat not just to report on their activities, but also as an opportunity to renew their dedication to collaboration and service.
I advise that we remain focused on the people we serve and strengthen our coordination efforts further, deepen our accountability mechanism, and deliver with urgency and integrity.
The retreat is part of the government's quarterly performance tracking process to strengthen accountability and ensure that national development goals remain on course. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
On Wednesday, the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, DOI, held a press conference to address the rejection of the 2024 draft constitution, expressing concerns and calling for a national consensus. Lolem Kamara attended the briefing, and this is her report.
The event comes just a week after the National Assembly rejected the 2024 promulgation bill during its second reading, marking the second major constitutional setback in 5 years. PDOI's party leader described the situation as a constitutional crisis and proposed a roadmap towards achieving national consensus.
Where do we start? We start by explaining what a constitution-making process is and what a bill, a constitutional promulgation bill, is. The 2020 draft, which became a bill, is not meant to be a perfect document. The 2024 draft, which became a bill, is not a perfect document. These bills are brought to the National Assembly for scrutiny. They are not brought for adoption. Those who drafted the bills are not lawmakers.
The draft bill, which aimed, among other things, to introduce presidential term limits, reduce executive powers, and allow diaspora voting, failed to secure the required two-thirds majority. A previous draft, submitted in 2020, had also failed to proceed through the National Assembly. Halifa Saleh attributed the rejection of this latest draft to public confusion and misconceptions about its contents, stressing the need for clarity and inclusion in the process. He also highlighted the issue of diaspora voting.
There are many misconceptions. If you look at the 1997 Constitution, it says that every Gambian above 18 years has a right to be registered as a voter and to vote. That is established by the Constitution. Something is said there to be registered under a constituency, which, if it becomes problematic, you could have amended 30 years, 20 something years ago. But it did not pose any difficulty because the Elections Act became clear that Gambians abroad should be registered under Section 11 of the election.
The PDOIS leader warned that failure to adopt a people-centered constitution would stall democratic progress. Thus, he called for a national dialogue. During the Q&A session, journalists sought clarification on issues surrounding the draft constitution, all of which were addressed. A major criticism of the 2024 draft is that it lacked the consultative process undertaken with the 2020 draft, which included taking in the views of the Gambian diaspora. For PDOIS, the way forward is to build national consensus through civic education, thorough consultation, and meaningful engagement with all sectors of society. For QTV News, Loli M. Kamara.
French National Day, also known as Bastille Day, was commemorated in the Gambia on Sunday, bringing together a wide range of dignitaries, government officials, diplomats and development partners in a celebration that highlighted the enduring friendship and cooperation between France and the Gambia. Yafa Tugay has the rest of that story.
France National Day, celebrated annually on the 14th July, commemorating the 1789 storming of the Bastille and the fight for liberty, equality and democracy, was marked in Banjul with a high level of diplomatic reception hosted by the French Diplomatic Mission in the Gambia. Though not a public holiday in the Gambia, the celebration has become a key moment in international cooperation, drawing together senior government officials, diplomats and development partners. The event underscored the deepening partnership between France and the Gambia, with shared commitment to education, healthcare, governance, and climate resilience. In his remarks, the French ambassador to the Gambia, Stéphane Devers, emphasized mutual respect and continued collaboration on both regional and global issues, reinforcing a strong bond between the two nations.
Here France is rarely in the headlines, but I can say this with confidence. We are among the Gambia's top partners in public development aid, whether through the EU or directly. The French Development Agency, or AFD, works in many areas: water, agriculture, environmental protection, and fiscal resource mobilization, all vital to the Gambia future.
Sering Modunjai, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, applauded the long-standing relationship between France and the Gambia, acknowledging the crucial role French support has played in capacity building, institutional reforms and youth development initiatives.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, tonight's gathering is not only a tribute to French Republic, but also a reaffirmation of the broader spirit of cooperation that unites us all, France, the Gambia, and our partners here present, in pursuit of a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world.
The event also showcased France's dedication to cultural diplomacy, featuring a blend of Gambian and French cuisine, music, and language, promoting deeper cultural appreciation and strengthening educational ties between the two countries. In France, following a drive through Paris, President Emmanuel Macron took a salute at the end of an event attended by world leaders, and which featured demonstrations of some aspects of French culture, as well as displays from all sectors of the country's armed forces. As France marks another year of its journey as a republic founded on liberty, equality, and fraternity, the Bastille Day celebration in the Gambia served as a powerful symbol of unity, fostering dialogue, advancing development cooperation, and supporting regional stability, of which are central to the growing partnership between two nations. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatigay.
Happy National Day to France. Now we will go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll have more national and international news stories. Do stay with us.
At Ajib Bank, we are more than banking. We build bridges that connect you to pivotal services every day. Do you have government bills to pay to the Gambia Revenue Authority, Comfort, KMC, or the Accountant General's Department? We've got you covered. From payment of customs and domestic taxes to GRA, payment of number plate and vehicle ownership transfer to Comfort, payment of property rates and business license fee to KMC, and payment of MR passport, business registration, fishing license, land fees, sale of assets, lease application, development permits, quarrying royalties, gravel and sand, mining royalties, and a host of other revenue lines to the Accountant General's Department. Walk into any of our branches nationwide and make your payments hassle-free. Either in person or online. Simple, secure, and immediate. With Ajib Bank, there is no need to worry about government bill payments for your vehicles, taxes, licenses, business registration, and any other revenue line. Ajib Bank, passionate about your investment. We've got you covered. Ajib Bank, your investment partner.
fii mooy fan fii mooy Inessa di place bi nga xam ne moom la ñëpp taam place bii bépp xeetu ataaya bu baax rek bu dugg see ci dëkk bi xamal ne fii rek la am bara wërga bii neex na lool saf na ba pare tamit nag am gu bu neex boo ko naanee rek da ngay kontaan ci saa si añ ba suur ba gëreesal li nga lekk baara ataaya bii ndax moom la ñëpp taam gis nga sama client bii ataaya bu neex bu ne moom laa koy njëkk a jox ndax moom kat ataaya bu neex rek lay wër baara warga bii mooy warga bi gën te moo gën a saf kon nag ràññee leen ko bu baax kon daw leen gaaw ca Banjul foofu ca Inessa di place bi nga xam ni foofu rek nga ko mën a amee wholesale wala retail mu ngi foofu ci boori court house bi foofu ca Banjul wala nga daw ci bépp marché bépp supermarket bépp boutique fépp foo dugg rek di nga mën a am baara warga bii nga xam ne moom la ñëpp di wër tey baara warga moo dàq ci warga yi man maa ngi ci moom ndax suma maree ataaya moom rek lay naan
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I am Janneh Alhaji Muhammadu Kurang, former secretary of the Janneh Commission, today appeared before the Select Committee on the sale and disposal of ex-President Jammeh's assets to provide explanations as to how the assets were sold or disposed of. Nam Nabuka has the rest of that story.
In 2017, The government of the Gambia set up the Janneh Commission of Inquiry to look into the financial activities of former President Yahya Jammeh and his close associates. The commission's findings, after almost 2 years of activities and $50 million is spent to ensure its successful completion, led to the forfeiture of several properties and assets. Alhaji Muhammadu Kurang, who was the Janneh Commission secretary, was entrusted with overseeing the sale of the assets, a process that was meant to restore justice and accountability after 22 years of dictatorship and looting. However, years later, the methods used to dispose of these assets are now under scrutiny, raising concerns about whether the sales were carried out lawfully and transparently. Among these assets, the sale of ex-President Jammeh's cattle has emerged as a particularly contentious issue. Appearing before the special committee as a witness, Mr. Kurang was asked to clarify where the valuers of the cattle were sourced from, following allegations that some assets may have been undervalued or sold without proper oversight, raising questions about potential corruption and mismanagement.
Yeah, the order actually is that the livestock department was mentioned as part of the order. So yes, I think I would have been the one to write the letter to the department and requesting, and yes, then they send in the valuers.
Mr. Kurang was also asked to identify the number of cattle that were acquired and how the value of their prices was determined.
The number of, was around 700 or slightly less than 7 or slightly more, around that. They had a small calculator, now I remember. When they looked at a cow, maybe they estimate the kilogram, 80 kilogram, they will multiply it by they have a rate for meat, the rate per kilogram for meat that they brought, and then they get 14,400.
By a court order, the Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency was tasked with overseeing the sale of the cattle. Mr. Kurang was questioned on his relationship with the institution and its involvement throughout the process.
The order, as you said Gilmer should be in charge. So when I went on the ground, I didn't see anybody from Gilmer telling me I am in charge here. I met some gynecologists there and security soldiers. They were with us for tagging and valuation. But what they participated in before that, I am not aware.
As the line of investigation continues, the Special Select Committee is seeking to uncover vital information that could lead to greater accountability and transparency regarding the sale and disposal of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News.
Appearing before the ongoing Local Government Commission of Inquiry, Muhammadu, the former finance manager of Banjul City Council, revealed details including the increase in allowances, payment of sitting allowances, and that the mayor is represented on nearly all council committees. Muhammadu has been monitoring the proceedings, and this is his report.
The testimony session focused specifically on the management of allowances and payment to staff, including the mayor and council advisor, Makumbasane. On the questioning, the responses highlighted issues relating to financial management, approval processes, and the legality of certain payments. Muhammadu Kamara, the former finance director, explained the background of allowance increases, overtime payments, and the confusion between honorarium and overtime classifications.
Because there's a thin line, or the demarcation is not standardized. Sometimes
demarcation of what?
Sometimes the request will put request for honorarium, and sometimes they will put request for overtime.
Yes, but which is the proper?
Yeah, overtime is the proper word. From my background, I choose overtime.
Concerns were also raised about the authority and appropriateness of payments made to Makumbasane, who held multiple unofficial roles and received significant allowances. The testimony revealed what appeared to be a struggle with governance and adherence to financial regulations within the council, emphasizing the need for clearer policies and accountability. Mr. Kamara gave details.
These allowances, they are not right. We shouldn't, in the first place, we shouldn't pay the allowances. We shouldn't pay the allowances, but here I am, the allowances I found, they are being paid. So it's just a matter of coming the next budget to say that, look, these things are wrong. I don't think they should find their way in our subsequent budget.
Mr. Kamara also spoke about how the BCC mayor cancelled at what he describes as at the last minute a contract awarded to Fatima Trading, much to their dismay, and expressed frustration over the decision.
And the CEO did very well for that contract to be executed by Fatima Sabali. But we all have a lot of headache, psychological attack for standing our ground that this contract has to be seen.
Mr. Kamara's testimony, as with others before him, continues to shed light on critical governance challenges within the Banjul City Council, particularly concerning financial management and transparency. Muhammadu Gajaga, QTV News.
Muhammadu Gajaga, now let's take a look at what is happening beyond our borders. In Nigeria, a chapter of political history has closed this week with the death and burial of former President Muhammadu Buhari. The former leader who governed Africa's most populous nation, first as a military head of state and later as a democratically elected president, was laid to rest in his hometown of Daura. Yafatoge has the details.
Former Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari was laid to rest on Tuesday. The burial came 2 days after his death in London, where he had been undergoing medical treatment. Hundreds of mourners, including local residents, political leaders and dignitaries, gathered in Daura to honor Buhari one last time. The burial site was crowded, with many attendees in tears and offering prayers, a testament of the lasting impact of his legacy. Buhari's legacy will be remembered not only for his role as a national leader, but also a father figure. Despite controversy and criticisms, was deeply committed to the idea of a stable, united Nigeria, and by his interactions an equal, stable West Africa. As a leader, Buhari was towering presence in Nigerian politics for over 4 decades. From his early days as a military head of state in 1983 to his heroic return as a democratically elected president in 2015. He consistently positioned himself as a disciplined, principled figure. His leadership was defined as an unyielding stance against corruption, a firm approach to national security, and efforts to restore order in a country often overwhelmed by instability. But like any father figure, his legacy is not without complexes. His leadership faced deep scrutiny, especially towards the end of his tenure. Rising insecurity, economic struggles, and civil unrest left many Nigerians, particularly the youth, disillusioned. Critics questioned his silence during national crisis, his long absence for medical treatment abroad, and his administration's response to protest and dissent. Still among his critics, there is still acknowledgement of Buhari's enduring influence. His decades of public service, personal sacrifices, and the symbolic weight of his leadership have etched his name into the country's history. In the end, President Buhari will be remembered as more than just a politician. He will be remembered as a father figure whose leadership helped shape Nigeria's path, for better or worse. His passing leaves behind a legacy that will continue to spark debate, reflection, and for many, a sense of national loss. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yavat Gay.
May his soul rest in perfect peace. Now, as its 3-day event continues in Nairobi, Kenya, the Women's Development and Communication Network, FEMNET, continues to bring together influential women leaders from across Africa's legal and justice sectors to address pressing challenges they face in their fields. Zainab Chow is amongst the participants, and this is her report.
They too of the convergence focus on key discussions around discrimination, harassment and the lack of finance, among other issues women encountered in the legal, justice, environment and other related sectors. Here is Ananjai, president of the Female Lawyers Association, The Gambia, FLAG.
Women organizations or bar association could use it as a mechanism to promote the rights of women within the legal industries of different countries, and to look at ways to uplift women, to make sure that they reach higher heights and be able to occupy key positions.
Participants shared personal stories and experiences, many of which underscored the urgent need for change, emphasizing the importance of creating a safe workplace for women. Samukule Ndembele, a new law graduate from Zambia, highlighted some of the challenges women face in the legal sector.
Unemployment is an issue across the board, but as a recent graduate, I will tell you that most of the roles that we're giving us the financial support that we would need, even though it's the beginning and we don't have any experience, but it's still very limiting, one would say. And there's also issues like sexual harassment. It's a very big issue, and you will find that in most, it's very common.
Speakers include prominent legal experts, advocates, journalists and policymakers, all of whom highlighted strategies for fostering inclusivity and equality. The day concluded with participants expressing hope for stronger, united voices in advocating for women's rights and justice reform. The event reflects a growing recognition of critical role women play in shaping Africa's legal landscape and the need for sustainable efforts to empower them. Reporting for QTV News in Nairobi, Kenya, I am Seinabu Chow.
Seinabu Chow there reporting from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm afraid that is all we have time for. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.